Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the graduation ceremony for graduates of the Faculty of Commerce and Administration and the Graduate School of Management. In a few minutes, the graduation ceremony will commence. The procession of staff will enter first. After a brief pause, the university fanfares will announce the entrance of the dais party. I will signal to you by this action that you are to rise and remain standing until both the staff procession and the dais party are seated. Please do not stand until I ask you to. May I also remind you that flash photography is prohibited in this auditorium. For the mutual comfort and enjoyment of all members of the audience, the university requests your cooperation in observing this rule. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the graduates and their families. Vice-Chancellor, our guest speaker this evening, Mrs Lorraine Martin, and friends all. It has always been the custom for Griffith University and its guests to gather for the purpose of conferring academic awards on its graduates. These occasions hold special significance not only for our graduates, their families and their friends, but also for the entire university community. On behalf of the Chancellor of Griffith University, it is my pleasure this afternoon to extend a very warm welcome to everyone present for this graduation ceremony. It is my particular pleasure to welcome Mrs Lorraine Martin as our special guest this afternoon. Mrs Martin is Principal and Chief Executive of Lorraine Martin College, which employs some 120 people and trains in excess of 3,000 students each year. Additionally, Lorraine is owner and manager of Lorraine Martin Personnel and Lorraine Martin World Travel. I should acknowledge the fact that this is the second Griffith University event in a week with which Mrs Martin has been associated. Last Friday she was a guest speaker at an Alumni Association breakfast, and today she will be delivering the occasional address. We are most grateful, Mrs Martin, for the generous allocation of your very valuable time. This afternoon, of course, is a very special occasion for all of our graduates. We are here to acknowledge the commitment and effort of all of those involved in the studies which have led to the academic awards which will be formally conferred in this ceremony. Our focus for this afternoon is on the Faculty of Commerce and Administration, one of Griffith University's 12 faculties and one of the 7 located at the Nathan campus. In responding to the evolving requirements of a changing society, the Faculty of Commerce and Administration this year offered for the first time 2 new undergraduate courses of particular interest. They are the combined Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Commerce, and the Bachelor of Commerce Retailing Management. Both of these courses represent innovative and flexible adaptations of the established Bachelor of Commerce program, which caters for the needs of particular niche markets. The Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Commerce is a cooperative venture with the Faculty of Science and Technology and combines the benefits of 2 well-established bachelor degrees. The course has been designed to meet the needs of graduates and employers in the context of structural reforms in the Australian working environment. It addresses national education and economic priorities and is relevant to the demands of Australia's social and economic development. The Bachelor of Commerce, specialising in retailing management, is a fine example of industry's participation in higher education through a joint funding arrangement between the Commonwealth and industry. Each student who commenced the course this year has been drawn from the retailing industry, and the course will allow them to undertake studies with a strong vocational focus. This year, the faculty also launched 2 additional combined postgraduate degrees, flexible enough to allow students to combine the following courses: an MBA with a Graduate Diploma of Economics and an MBA with a Graduate Diploma of Business Computing and Information Systems. The MBA course has proven extremely successful as a cooperative arrangement between the Faculties of Commerce and Administration, the Faculty of Asian and International Studies, and Business and Hotel Management under an umbrella structure of the Graduate School of Management. The course, which has its first round of graduates in today's ceremony, is still developing, and 1994 will see the launch of 2 new MBA majors in International Business at the Nathan campus and Hospitality Management at the Gold Coast campus. The Master of Information Systems will graduate its first student today, and the Graduate Diploma of Human Resource Management and Industrial Relations is graduating its first students from the Training and Development stream. In the field of research, the head of the School of Organisational Behaviour and Human Resource Management, Associate Professor Peter Smith, has been active in establishing the Organisational Psychology Research Unit, OPRU, an autonomous unit located within the Graduate School of Management Centre for Strategic Change and Development. The Organisational Psychology Research Unit aims to build a long-term relationship between higher education and industry through research related to industry needs. It also aims to provide high-calibre research students with opportunities for PhD research, with industrial partnership, and to ensure the effective dissemination of research findings, both through publication and through management education. Current activities include research into work organisation and meat processing through an award of some $325,000 from the Meat Research Corporation. To conclude this brief overview, I note with pleasure the recent appointment of Associate Professor Margaret Gardner of the School of Industrial Relations as Pro-Vice-Chancellor Equity of the Griffith University. Associate Professor Gardner is the first female Pro-Vice-Chancellor to be appointed by this university. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to be associated with a higher education institute which is as progressive and innovative in its outlook as Griffith University. The high ranking of the university in the recent National Quality Assurance Round, of course, was especially pleasing. We are committed to innovation and to excellence, not only in the development of our academic programs, but also in the pursuit of new knowledge and in placing the university's considerable cultural and intellectual resources at the service of the wider community. Our many graduates have earned much success and acclaim both in Australia and overseas, and rightly so, I might add, given their individual achievements. Those who graduate today will take their place amongst a growing band of whom I'm sure the university is justly proud, and I am sure will add to their national and international standing. In the main, the graduates today are leaving this place of education and training to enter the world of business and industry, where they are qualified to contribute a particular expertise. Australia has always had a sound reputation for technological excellence, certainly in the agricultural and resource industries which have historically generated the overwhelming proportion of our export income. We may be starting to lose a little of this precedence now. Some complacency crept into our attitudes to competing in the world during the last couple of decades, just as more and stronger rivals for our traded commodities began to make their presence felt in the world markets. What you graduates today can offer your country and the businesses which employ you, or which you start off yourself, is sound management skills. Achieving optimum performance from ever more costly resources in the face of ever more intrusive government is your challenge. As we continue with this afternoon's proceedings, I express once again my warm congratulations to each of our graduates and extend to them our best wishes for their lives ahead. I now call on the Dean of the Faculty of Commerce, Professor Errol Islan, to present the graduates from that faculty who are to receive their awards at this ceremony.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Administration or Bachelor of Commerce. Christopher Aberley. Yusha Adams.
Ian Alfred. Lisa Allen. Mark Allpress. Catherine Orthus. Gloria Amanqua. Alison Archer. Bronwyn Baird. Rachel Bamber. Jodie Bambrick. John Bellis. Joseph Bennett. Gavin Blake. Paul Blom. Ian Bloxham. Jane Boski. Michelle Bowfinger. Thea Bolton. Diane Bothwell. Helen Bowes. Jared Bridie. Robert Brown. Elizabeth Bunn. Barney Burke. John Burrows. Tony Butler. Derek Butterfield. Tammy Cairns. Michelle Callaghan. John Carr. Joseph Chan. Lisa Chun. Maureen Clark. Sean Cochran. Christine Coe. Peter Connolly. Lyle Copeland. Lisa Cowderoy. Kevin Crompton. Judy Cronin. Robert Dalton. Anthony Daly. Catherine Davidson. Michael Drapus. Brett Dick. Greg Doherty. Leonard Dew. Matthew Draheim. Rita Draney. Damone Dungy. Jacqueline Dunn. Kamal Dutta. Michael Ackerman. Addison Effendi. Graham Ella. Glenda Elgood. Doug Elliott. David Elmer. Daniel Elmspley. Donald Eyre. Malcolm Farley. Jason Finlayson. Debbie Fraser. Rodney Freiberg. Lozina Fung. Thea Gordon. Tom Graham. Christopher Green. Vicky Green. Juliet Gunter. Ian Guthrie. Norman Guy. Michael Hall. Melissa Hanna. Alison Hanson. Linda Harris. Stephen Harris. Kathy Heap. John Hegarty. Gerald Heng. Andrew Hennig. Rosalind Heron. Tung Sing Ho. Amita Setyanti Imam. Sarah Inman. Terry Jenkins. Genevieve Johns. Stephen Johnson. Mark Jurians. Gina Carla. Robbie Cando. Chin Ling Kang. Robert Keir. Sandra Kelly. Therese Kennedy. Michael Kenny. Sunarat Kiat Promul. Julie Knight. Tracy Knight. Catherine Knowles. Aaron Coe. Lehesia Coe. Donajanto Kui. Robert Cow. Jimmy Lau. Cheryl Lawson. Sheki Lemasoa. Masita Lennon. Yukit Leong. Hian Ni Liao. Karina Liu. Peter Lloyd. Catherine Loftus. Julianne Longden. Sharon Louth. Vanessa Lynham. Laura McNamara. Howard Manning. Tricia McAnally. James McGarry. Mary Ann McCauley. Vicky McGrath. James McNamara. Russell Minot. Ruth Morgan. Anthony Mucha. Richard Mueller. Christine Munro. Annette Murray. Sarah Niblock. Joyce Okello. Wayne Osborne. Mark Oswald. Speros Pappas. Darren Payne. Derek Payne. Kylie Payne. Rachel Peel. Ben Peralta. Rob Plummer. Stephen Podlich. Neville Polglaze. Luke Porter. Liz Quinn. Anne-Marie Regan. Belinda Rybelt. Janet Reid. Keith Reid. Angela Ryanmuth. Linda Remington. Shane Richards. Joe Rigney. Alan Robb. Christopher Sale. Lisa Saul. Fiona Shapper. Catherine Shannon. Patrina Shaw Black. Brad Sheehan. Delma Scott. Karen Slater. Andrew Smith. Kelly Smith. Rowena Spencer. Jason Stammer. Michael Stanton. Simon Stevenson. Juliet Strickland. Craig Saltman. Jerry Sutherland. Claudia Suter. Suwani Suwanto. Michelle Swine. Barry Thomas. Greg Thomas. Linda Thomas. Max Thurlow. Lily Jin. Reem Torkey. Vin Tran. Richard Triggs. Nicole Tupper. Damien Turner. Kathy Upham. Jackie Van Dam. Mary Van Lyshout Bozanak. Amanda Verhoeven. John Vidgen. Amanda Wormsley. Rhonda Warren. Kerry Waters. Yuan Hua Weng. Megan Whitehead. Victoria White. Cindy Wilcox. Paul Wilkinson. Melinda Williams. Peter Williamson. Sharon Willis. Graham Warland. Deputy Chancellor, the Medal for Achievement in the Bachelor's Degree course may be awarded annually to the graduate with the highest academic achievement in a Bachelor's Degree course. The medal is not awarded if there is no candidate of sufficient merit. Deputy Chancellor, I am pleased to present to you a graduate who has been granted the 1993 Commerce Medal, Simon Loram Stevenson. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Commerce with first-class honours. Michael Barry. Vincent Marmont. Jennifer Waters. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Commerce with second-class honours, Division A. Tracy Brown. Nigel Ellis. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Commerce with second-class honours Division B, Joanna Stavro. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Accountancy, Catherine Addy. Sia Akavan. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Administration, Norman Hanson. Rhonda James. Neil McMurtry. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Business Computing and Information Systems. Colin Diakoff. Gregory Thompson. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Economics. Dennis McClure. Dushan Wikrama Surya. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Human Resource Management and Industrial Relations. Fiona McLean. Jackie Moore. Marjorie Wynnum. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates who have been granted the Master of Administration. Bruce Ames. Jill Boland. Anne Borchardt. Jennifer Cranston. John Crittall. Frankie Greco. Martin Jennings. Judith Robb. Peter Rule. Elizabeth Todhunter. Deputy Chancellor, that completes the presentation of the graduates of courses of the Faculty of Commerce and Administration.
I now call on the Acting Head of the Graduate School of Management, Professor Paul Ryder, to present the graduates from that school who are to receive their awards at this ceremony.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you a graduate who has been granted the Graduate Management qualification, Trina Hockley. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you the first graduates from Nathan Campus who have been granted the Master of Business Administration. Peter Howe. John Rice. Kuldeep Sandhu. Trevor Schmierer. Margaret Scott. Michael Stanton. Peter van Velzen. Edmund Wong. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you a graduate who has been granted the Master of Information Systems, Chai Chan. Deputy Chancellor, that completes the presentation of the graduates of courses of the Graduate School of Management.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will now be a brief musical interlude performed by the Griffith University Collegiate Singers.
is the month of May, when merry lads are playing. Fa-la-la-la-la-la-la, fa-la-la-la-la-la-la. Now is the month of May, when merry lads are playing. Fa-la-la-la-la-la-la, fa-la-la-la-la-la-la. Each with his bonny lads upon the greeny grass. La-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Each with his bonny lads upon the greeny grass. La-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. The spring-clad all in gladness doth laugh at winter's sadness. La-la-la-la-la-la-la, la-la-la-la-la-la. The spring-clad all in gladness doth laugh at winter's sadness. La-la-la-la-la-la, la-la-la-la-la-la. And to the bagpipe sound, the nymphs tread out their ground. La-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. And to the bagpipe sound, the nymphs tread out their ground. La-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Then why sit we musing, your sweet delight refusing? La-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Why then why sit we musing, your sweet delight refusing? La-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Say, dainty nymphs, and speak, shall we play barley break? La-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Say, dainty nymphs, and speak, shall we play barley break? La-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
It gives me pleasure to now call on the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Roy Webb, to introduce the guest speaker.
Earlier in the proceedings, the Deputy Chancellor expressed his pleasure that Mrs Martin is able to be present for this graduation. I warmly endorse those remarks and take very great pleasure in introducing our guest speaker. Lorraine Martin is no stranger to Griffith University, nor, I suspect, is her name unfamiliar to most Queenslanders. The high profile she now enjoys has been hard-earned, having had its beginning some 18 years ago when she opened the Lorraine Martin College with just 3 students. As the Deputy Chancellor mentioned, the college today trains more than 3,000 students a year in courses as varied as marketing, management, travel, tourism and hospitality, human resource management, computing, business and secretarial studies. From its modest beginnings in 1976, the Lorraine Martin College has grown to become the largest private business college in Queensland. Its reputation is not confined to Queensland. At last count, its students were drawn from 38 countries around the world. Last August, I was pleased to join with Mrs Martin in signing a credit transfer articulation agreement between her college and Griffith University. A graduate of the University of Queensland, where she gained a Bachelor of Arts degree with honours, Lorraine Martin has an outstanding record of achievement. One of the proudest of these was the staffing of the World Expo 88, an event which I'm sure we all recall fondly and which is one of this state's great successes. Lorraine Martin's challenge was to recruit, train, roster and pay 3,500 people for the 6 months of the exposition. It was a challenge which she embraced with her customary enthusiasm and professionalism. Mrs Martin is a Fellow of the Commercial Education Society of Australia, the Australian Institute of Company Directors and the Australian Institute of Management. She is a member of the Institute of Personnel Consultants and an honorary life member of the Institute of Professional Secretaries Australia. She serves on the boards of Austrade, the State Training Council, the Office of Economic Development for the City of Brisbane, the Royal Automobile Club of Queensland, the Australian Institute of Company Directors, the Mater Hospital Trust and Mindcare. She's a Governor of the Queensland Overseas Foundation, patron of ISEC, the International Association of Commerce Students, and is immediate past national president of the Women Chiefs of Enterprises International. She's also an honorary ambassador for the City of Brisbane. Mrs Martin's company won the Australia Institute of Management's 50th Anniversary Award, Best Small Business in Australia 1991, and she's awarded 1992 Woman Executive of the Year at the Queensland 400 Summit Conference. She has twice been a finalist in the Queensland Business Executive of the Year Awards. For her service to business and commerce, particularly in the field of education and training, Mrs Martin was named an Officer of the General Division of the Order of Australia in the Australia Day 1994 Honours List. Deputy Chancellor, it gives me great pleasure now to invite Mrs Lorraine Martin to address our graduates. Thank you.
Deputy Chancellor Mr Norm Fussell, Vice-Chancellor Professor Roy Webb, faculty members, graduates, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a privilege to be invited to make this address today. It is now almost 20 years since I graduated from the university as a mature-age student. Was it any different then from today? Like many economists present here today, I would say on the one hand, yes, and on the other hand, no. I graduated into an economy that looked strong. So strong, in fact, that net foreign debt was not an issue and not measured. The government owed $1.6 billion overseas, but had official reserves of $1.3 billion. Today, the level of net overseas debt is about $172 billion. 25 years ago, the Australian dollar was worth $1.12. Today, it's about 70 cents. Gross national product was growing at about 6.2%, compared with 2.5% in 1993. Unemployment 25 years ago was a mere 1%, and I don't have to remind you that today it's in excess of 10%. I graduated into a lucky country, carried along by a mineral resources boom, which, with immaculate timing, took over the job of earning money for Australia from wool and wheat. Of course, what all this masked was that my contemporaries graduated into a fool's economy, a protected country whose tariff walls and colonial traditions had produced an island people standing on their shores with their arms outstretched to Canberra. The point is, the cracks were already there. Our national rural and mineral endowments had papered them over and postponed the day of reckoning. That is, the day of reckoning in terms of the international competitiveness of Australia's manufacturing and services sector, where over 90% of Australians are employed or underemployed. So my graduating class thought we had it pretty good, and yet we landed you in this recession, hopefully one which we are about to put behind us, for your graduation ceremony 20 years later. Quite frankly, I and everyone in my generation owe you a considerable apology. Sadly, we put off the big decisions for way too long. I'm sure this is a lesson that will be noted by this graduation class and that you will serve Australia better. I would like to make 3 appeals to you today. The first is, make sure Australia is a huge success in Asia. Make sure you understand and enjoy life in Asia. Business, holidays, friends, theatre, politics, life in general. Why? Because as Asia represents the economic future for this country. The good news, and one of the really bright spots in the economy, is the rapid growth of our exports of complex manufactures into Asian markets. Over the last 5 years, the trend growth rate for exports of our more complex manufactures into Asian markets overall has been 27.8% per annum in value terms. In 3 of the most important markets, growth rates were 70% to Japan, 64% to Taiwan, and 138% to Korea. Just as interesting are the figures which show that our highest export growth companies are not amongst our traditional exporters, but rather they are from newer industries like, and listen for this because this is where the jobs are, like computer hardware, medical equipment, car components, and telecommunications equipment. For example, in the last 3 years, communication equipment exports grew from $288 million a year to $403 million a year. Computer hardware grew from $393 million a year to $696 million a year. Scientific and medical equipment from $407 million a year to $530. Automotive equipment from $1.1 billion a year to $1.3. Telecommunications equipment nearly doubled. It went from $288 million a year to $403 million a year. Already our exports to Asia in total dwarf our exports to the Americas and Western Europe put together. In fact, our exports to Southeast Asia alone surpass those to either the Americas or Europe, and that is around $8.8 billion. Last year, 60% of Australia's exports, or a total of $36 billion, went to Asia. This total should reach $40 billion by the end of 1994. Against this background, it is no exaggeration to say that the opportunities and challenges before us in the markets of Asia are enormous. You must keep this rolling. And when one of you is invited in 20 years' time to do what I am doing today, you should be able to report to the class of 2014 that our exports to Asia represent about 85% of total Australian exports, and that manufacturing and services make up 75 to 80% of all Australian exports. So my second appeal then to you today is to resist current calls for the scrapping or de-Asianising of our immigration and overseas student education programs. Australian education has already made a major contribution to the growth of Australian exports and business opportunities in Asia through the education of Asian students in Australia over the last 40 years. Since the beginning of the Colombo Plan in the early 50s, Australia has funded, through various programs, tertiary training for thousands of students from less developed countries in Asia. Many of these students, on returning home, have risen to influential positions in government, administration, business and the professions. Most have warm feelings towards Australia, helping to build up a reserve of goodwill for Australia. The same goodwill bonus can be expected for those who, over the last 6 years, have been coming to our educational institutions as fee-paying students. Our new education services strategy has closely monitored and facilitated the development of this market, worth an estimated $1.5 billion in 1993. We cannot put a monetary figure on the value of the goodwill towards Australia retained by these students when they return home. And we shouldn't underestimate the potential of this goodwill to assist Australian business in Asia. To quote Professor Wells of the Sydney University's Graduate School of Management and Public Policy, he said, "Young business managers who receive their training in a foreign country are drawn to that country when trading opportunities arise later in their careers. Business follows where education has led, a very powerful draw for international trade." There is no evidence that I have yet seen to suggest that unemployment and immigration are positively and causally related. I don't believe it, and with what we have at stake, you should not allow yourselves to be bullied into anti-Asian policies or practices. My third and final appeal relates to whatever your career path may be. I urge you to apply the blowtorch of international competitiveness to the practices and assumptions of your organisations, your colleagues and yourselves. Don't delude yourselves like we did before you. Nobody owes you a living. Find out what the international benchmarks are. Seek the opportunities of the expanding markets of Asia and spend some time living there if possible. Being internationally competitive and compatible in our region involves being fluent in the languages, cultures and practices of the region. If you don't speak either Japanese, Cantonese, Mandarin, Korean or Bahasa, you should start taking lessons, just when you thought they were all finished. A brief anecdote might underscore the reason for this third appeal of mine. Austrade recently announced its decision to open an office in Fukuoka on the island of Kyushu. No one in Australia has heard of these places, and yet the output from this southern island of Japan is equivalent to that of all the Asian nations combined. Well, back to the economist language. On the one hand, things look brighter for my generation of graduates, but really they were not. On the other hand, things look pretty glum for today's graduates, but they really need not be. Not if you respond to my 3 appeals. Let me repeat them. 1, concentrate on expansion with and into Asia. 2, support education and immigration flows with Asian partners. 3, apply the discipline of international benchmarks to all that you do, learning at least one of your near neighbours' languages in the process. Curiously, if we are to use the term lucky country, it should be applied to today's Australia and not to the protected Australia of the year of my graduating class. We are lucky today because we are so close to the only rapidly growing markets of the world. These are countries that are going through an economic growth cycle that demand the products and services Australia has to offer. It's all before you. Congratulations and good luck.
Deputy Chancellor, it's my pleasure to offer, on behalf of us all, a vote of thanks to Lorraine Martin for her inspiring address to us this afternoon. She began on some worrying statistics, but of course finished on a challenging note for the future and a very positive note. Her generation and mine, it was said, owes your generation, today's graduates, an apology for putting off the hard questions, for papering over the cracks, and for leaving too big a catch-up to the current generation. But it is an inspiring set of opportunities that she presents to us. Not only from her analysis can we work out which industries to go into in terms of export opportunities, not excluding her own and ours, of course, education, But we also have some tips as to how to make our way forward. This could hardly be a more appropriate university to which to address the challenge of Asia. Griffith can, I think, with some justice, lay claim to having led the way in this area of thinking in the 1970s. Griffith students should not require exhortation to resist current calls for the de-Asianisation of our immigration and other linkages. We should be, of course, in the forefront of strengthening those linkages, as indeed I believe we are. Mrs. Martin drew attention to the fantastic improvement in education exports, of which her own firm is such a powerful part, and our linkages with her firm augur well for the future in that regard. But it is rather a striking figure to draw our attention to, from minus some several millions of dollars in 1988 to the figure she mentioned, 1.5 billion export value of education in 1993. Probably no other Australian industry can quote those sorts of figures. She exhorted us to apply the blowtorch of international competitiveness to our futures, and that is, of course, striking language and a striking commentary on how she believes the new generation should behave compared with the earlier generation that papered over the cracks. I was delighted to hear Mrs. Martin exhort our graduates to continue their studies, and I'm looking forward to, several hundred enrolments from here today in our Asian language studies next year. Ladies and gentlemen, would you join with me again in thanking our guest speaker for her address? And may I take my opportunity to congratulate all our graduates on their success and wish them every success in the future, and to ask them, indeed to exhort them, to join our very rapidly expanding Alumni Association, to which Mrs. Martin gave an exciting breakfast address only last week. Join our Alumni Association and stay with your university. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a moment, the Griffith University Collegiate Singers will sing the traditional student song, Gajiyama Sigatur. Please rise as the singers enter and remain standing during the singing. Members of the audience who wish to do so are invited to join in the singing of the song, whose words appear on page 19 of your program. Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony is now concluded. When the fanfares begin, please remain standing as the Deas Party and the staff procession and the graduates retire. Thank you.